Hello everyone and welcome to Tinker Talk, the first episode of a weekly podcast on Tinker Network. I'm Matthew David and I'll be hosting alongside Josh Andrews. Hi Josh.
Hi Matthew, how you doing?
I'm good. In this episode, we'll be discussing transfer deadline day, some of the week's fixtures, as well as the Premier League's relegation battle.
Brilliant. You didn't ask how I was doing. I'm almost kind of upset by this, but never mind.
I'm sorry, how are you doing?
It's alright. Sweet, let's talk about the biggest transfers of the window. Matthew, have you been impressed by any particular teams this window?
I think Burnley have done probably the best business. I was having a little look before we started talking. Robbie Brady's a good player. Ashley Westwood's a good player. Joey Barton's a thug.
Joey Barton is a thug. There's just no way of getting out of that, I suppose.
Yeah, not going to sugarcoat it. But I think Burnley have already kind of cemented themselves. They'll be fine anyway. But I think their signings have strengthened them a little bit, and I think they've done some good business. Any team you've been impressed by?
I do have a team that I've been impressed by, but before I get to that, actually, I was looking at Burnley as one of the teams that I thought was going to be quite good, and I just wanted to single out Robbie Brady as somebody who I think could be the signing of this particular window. I think he's got the potential to be that important for Burnley if they use him correctly.
I think my pick for that would probably be Morgan Schneiderlin.
I'd agree, and I'd agree. You know what I mean by that. Obviously, I think Morgan Schneiderlin is a very good player, and actually, going on to that, I think Everton are probably the team that I would say have done the best business for them long term. Because, it seems as though with Everton that they have some really, really, really good games where they're all playing really well, and then they'll play Chelsea and get dominated 5-0, and it doesn't always look, especially in the first half of the season, like they are quite understanding what the manager wants.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Koeman has the players that he necessarily wants. I think there's some players there who probably don't look fit enough, don't look like they quite get it, because he's playing with a 3-back a lot of the time, and someone like Jagielka he doesn't seem to be able to cut it.
Yeah, I fully agree. But the kind of player that Schneiderlin is, the heavy kind of pressing sort of style of play that he has, I think could really, really suit Koeman. And I do think that, I know I was speaking about Brady being like a potential signing of the window. I think Schneiderlin probably would also be my pick for actual signing of the window, as it stands anyway. But I know that you're also a fairly big fan of the other guy, the Everton signs, Lookman. So
yeah, he's very, very good for Charlton, and he's made an impressive start at Everton. I didn't see their game against, who was it today? Against Stoke. I didn't see that. I don't know if he actually played. I might have to watch that after we finish talking.
Sure.
But yeah, he's made a good start. I think he scored a very, very well taken goal against Man City. Yeah, he's quite exciting.
Was that
Sorry?
Was that Lookman? Or am I thinking of the wrong game?
Lookman got the 4th goal against Man City.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think there was a fairly dodgy pass across the box, and he was there.
Right.
Yes.
That sounds like the kind of problem City have been having over the course of this season so far. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I did want to bring up Berahino as somebody who I think a lot of people will think could do well now that he'll, hopefully be a bit more settled at a new club finally. What are your takes on his signing?
I think he's at the right club, and I think it's been a long time coming. I don't know how many transfer windows it is now. He's been looking to leave West Brom, but it's happened.
4 or 5, it must be now.
Yeah, it's got to be. But yeah, I think it's a good signing. I think the price. For that price, it's got to be worth the risk for Stoke, and I think West Brom will be happy he's not leaving on a very cheap deal at the end of the season. He's not really played for them this year, but I think Stoke have been desperate for a striker. Wilfried Bonny's not really worked out. Peter Crouch got his 100th goal today, but he's not going to be going to be a long term.
Yes, it won't be 100 of many, will it?
No, I don't think he'll get too many more. But
No.
yeah, I think Berahino, if he works hard enough, I think he'll be a good sign. I think Mark Hughes is probably a good manager for him as well.
Yeah. Seems. It's funny because obviously with those two being quite fairly emotive people, you can just sort of see Mark Hughes when he's on the sidelines, that when he gets, all
energetic.
Yeah, that's probably the best word. And obviously with Berahino, I mean, you can obviously tell that he's not the kind of sit down and just, let his emotions just not matter. You can tell he's also a bit more.
He got that impression from the tweet when he didn't quite get his move to Tottenham.
I don't know what tweet you're talking about. Yeah.
Speaking of tweets like that, Leonardo Ulloa made a similar tweet.
Yeah, he'll never play for Leicester City again.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he was really being picked anyway, but
that is a fair point. But he hasn't left.
No, Sunderland had 3 bids rejected on deadline day. The third one was $7.5 million plus add-ons, which I think Leicester are crazy to not take. I don't think he's worth that.
I fully agree. He's not been what Leicester will have expected him to have been when he came. I mean, he had a good game in that 5-3 against Man United a season or two ago now, but beyond that, it's not really been there for him, has it?
No, I mean he was good at Brighton, and I think he looked decent when they first signed him. I think was it 9 million, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
it's quite a lot of money they paid for him. But saying Claudio Ranieri lied to him, saying that because apparently he got told that if a bid of 4.5-5 million came in, they'd let him go. A bid of 7.5 million came in, they didn't let him go.
Well, I mean, I'm not really sure why they feel the need to keep a hold of him, to be honest. I mean, they've got 3 strikers who are all, in my opinion at least, more useful. I don't want to just say better and write a show off as a bad striker or anything, but I mean, Bardi last season, was incredible, like him or not. Slimani's obviously a really good player, and Okazaki, I think, was key for them.
Not to forget Ahmed Musa.
Not to forget Musa either.
Yeah. So they've got 4 options who are probably better than him. I mean, everything he can do, I think you could expect Okazaki to probably do, and Slimani to do as well.
Yeah.
But it's they had a big bid for Slimani as well. I think from a Chinese club that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. I think they had a bid of about 39 million, and they rejected that.
Yeah.
Shows how much he kind of means to them. Kante go for less than that.
Yeah, and look at what Kante's doing now for Chelsea. Bidness.
I mean, we'll get onto it in a minute and talk about his performance against Liverpool.
Sure. Well, are there any other transfers that you want to talk about before that?
I mean, are there any teams that you think didn't do enough?
There's an argument, I think, for 2 of the bigger teams, in the sense that I take that back. Sorry, 3 of the bigger teams. I think Arsenal, City, and United all need something. I mean, obviously, it looks like the title's out of reach for, at bare minimum, City and United. But I mean, without any business, I can't see Arsenal having much of a say in the title race at the moment. Because I mean, when you're signing a left back who from non-league football who's making debuts in the under-23s, what intent are you really showing that you want to win with that?
Yeah.
Wording.
Yeah, I mean, as promising as Cohen Bramall might look, I'm sure he's not going to be playing for the first team this season, at least not in the league.
No, I mean, I think you had a theory that he was signed to potentially replace Gibbs if he goes in the summer.
Yeah, there was some reports the other day that was kind of the plan, because I don't think Gibbs will be happy sticking around at Arsenal with the kind of lack of first team football he's been getting.
Well, I mean, yeah. I
mean, when you look at the kind of fee that Crystal Palace paid for Patrick Van Aanholt. It was 14 million. I think Gibbs is a better left back than him. So
I would agree.
So it just kind of shows. Yeah, I think there's just a lack of quality in that position. Maybe I think that might also be why Man City didn't go out and buy a new fullback, because I think they're in desperate need of one.
Agreed. Although I think Man City are in desperate need of a few players to get, the kind of team that Pep Guardiola wants to make them.
I think I probably agree with that. They're looking like they're making improvements. I think Gabriel Jesus finally arrived. I reckon he'll be a very, very good signing for them.
Yeah. I mean, he's got all the attributes, and he's far from raw. He's a very good technical player. He's got,
He's a full international as well. He's got 4 goals in, I think, 6 Brazil appearances.
Hopefully we'll get to see more of him for City as the year progresses.
Yeah. Quick mention about the busiest team of the window, which was Hull. I think they made 8 signings.
I actually have the number of signings. I'm pretty sure they made 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed a couple. Henriksen, Nias, Ivandro. The fun name to say, El Abdelawi, Markovic, Ranocchia, Ndai, and Grisicky are the ones that I know about. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm fairly sure. 1 second.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I think of the ones that I know, at least, if Markovic works out and shows what he showed at Benfica, then he'll be a good signing for them. It's not really worked out at Liverpool. It didn't work out at Sporting either.
No.
Ranocchia was hyped up when he was younger. And I think, is a very good signing on loan from Villarreal.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully. I mean, a lot of these, smaller Premier League clubs, the ones that tend to, get promoted, they always seem to go for the, players who haven't quite made it at the bigger clubs. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's worked well for Hull when, they've signed players like Livermore and Huddleston in the past.
Yeah.
So maybe they can continue that. I don't want to call it a tradition, but
that pattern.
The pattern, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. So Chelsea versus Liverpool.
Yep. It's a good match. Finished 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think a goal from David Luiz from a free kick, which I'll talk more about in a moment.
Sure.
Before a Wijnaldum header.
Yep.
Brought Liverpool back into it.
That was a good goal, that.
It was. Game not without controversy.
Right, so the first free kick, was it a free kick in your opinion?
No. I think Hazard was very clever, but I think he dived. There was a red card for Jamie Vardy last season that this was very similar to, and that he forced his body into the challenge.
Right.
So if he continued on his natural path that he was running on, there's no way that he would have been fouled. So for me, it was clever, but it was definitely a dive.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I do feel as though the foul was soft in and of itself, and the fact that it was. I mean, I can understand not giving, not giving a dive, but I do feel as though it was definitely definitely not a free kick.
Yeah.
I worded that so well, didn't I? Well done, me.
It's okay.
But the free kick itself, I mean, Mignolet, what is he doing?
Again, there's a bit more controversy about that, because I can't remember, was it Mark Clattenburg was the referee?
I'm not sure.
Whoever the referee was, I probably should have checked that. But
yeah.
When he blew the whistle, and I'm not sure what the kind of guideline is, I don't know if he has to make sure everything's kind of in order. But when he blew the whistle, he was looking off at the linesman. It was bizarre, but yeah, Mignolet, definitely. The whistle blew. About 4 seconds later, he's still adjusting his wall.
Well, it's funny because I saw this particular incident and I thought that when the whistle was actually blown, Mignolet was in position and then decided for about a second afterwards to actually try and readjust his wall. So I'm not really sure. It actually looked like Mignolet, when the whistle was actually blown, was in a good position, and then got distracted afterwards by the wall, and then David Luiz took the free kick and boom, 1-0.
I mean, yeah. Either way, Mignolet's messed up there.
Yeah, for sure.
The free kick was superb by David Luiz. I don't actually think he was originally going to take it. I just think he saw the opportunity, saw Mignolet not concentrating, and I mean, he couldn't have taken it any better than he did.
Agreed, but it definitely did look like William was the one stepping up to take it in the first place.
Yeah. So it's a very, very quick bit of thinking by David Luiz, and it caught Liverpool out because they'd been the only team in the game at that point.
Yeah, I think it was also very bold because if that free kick hadn't gone in, that could have caused a few problems between him and William.
Yeah. I mean, Chelsea, to be fair, this season do look like they have quite a good kind of team chemistry and morale going, so I'm not sure it would have mattered as much as it would have last season.
True.
But yeah, it was a good free kick and a good goal. Whether or not the free kick should have been given is another thing. I don't think it should have.
Yep. That's fair. The Liverpool goal, but at that particular point in the game, was it deserved? Because it did seem like prior to Liverpool actually getting anything, they had all the possession and everything, but it did seem like Chelsea were getting the bulk of the chances.
I think that's probably fair. I think Chelsea are a difficult team to break down when they want to be difficult to break down. They have been for many years now.
Can't imagine if that was down to.
But yeah, so I mean, obviously it's going to be difficult. Liverpool were trying to kind of make the pitch wider and work the ball in, and eventually they exploited in the same way that Tottenham did a few weeks ago. They are kind of from the inside right, crossing it just in behind Moses, and he can't deal with them, it would seem.
Well, he's never been particularly great in the air.
No, I think he's done a good job as a wing back. That's not really in question. I think he needs a bit of work on defending those crosses, because he got caught out twice against Tottenham. He got caught out once again against Liverpool, and the ball got cut back and Wijnaldum just knocked it in.
I think there's an argument that could be made where it's easy to be a good wing back when you're the team dominating the game. Therefore, you have far more opportunity to actually bomb forward rather than come back and actually do your defensive duties more often than not. Because obviously, when you're a player like Moses, you're naturally, further forward as a winger for Wigan, and has been for his entire career prior to the beginning of the season. And now he's playing this slightly more defensive role. Well, this much more defensive role. And when you're Chelsea, more often than not, you're attacking, or you're on the front foot for the majority of the game. But when they were against Liverpool and on the back foot like they were for today, Moses has a lot more work to do.
That's definitely true, and he doesn't have the advantage of like Marcos Alonso, for example, on the other side, that he's actually a left back who's gone forward, or a right back who's gone forward rather.
Sure.
He's a winger who's come back, and that's usually more difficult, takes more adjusting to do.
Yeah.
When they do adjust, however, they are quite often some of the best. I think Kyle Walker used to be a striker. Bellerin used to be a right winger.
Sure. Quadrado as well, if you're not talking Premier League.
Yeah, when he played wing back for Juventus, which hasn't been too often since he's moved back there, because Lichtstein is immovable. Well. But yeah, he's looked good there as well.
Sure.
So yeah, but whether or not the goal was deserved, I think Liverpool wanted to do more. I think Chelsea were just sitting back and breaking, kind of like Southampton did in the Cup.
Sure.
But I think the goal was probably, on the basis of the game, it was deserved. On that particular moment, it was against the run of play a little bit in terms of how the chances were coming.
That makes a lot of sense. Then obviously, later in the game, Chelsea get awarded a penalty after a foul on Diego Costa. Do you think it was a foul?
I've had to look at this several times, because from some angles it looks like a certain foul, from some angles it doesn't. I think it was probably a slight clip on Diego Costa that he's made the most of.
Right.
Because he has flown, and I don't think there was enough for him to turn into a plane. But
Jesus.
I think it probably was a penalty.
Yeah.
It was a very good save by Mignolet.
It was a good save by Mignolet. And it did actually look like a fairly good penalty as well. It was just a very, very good save after Mignolet made his mind up and decided he was going that way to begin with.
He got it low and quick. I think the placement could have been better. He could have put it in the top corner on the other side, but...
Well, when the keeper goes one way, it's always easy to say that you can go, you should have gone the other way, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I think more a good save than a bad miss.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's going back to the penalty. I definitely think it was a penalty. I think when Matip, I think it was, makes a foul, like tackles Costa, misses the ball and clips Costa's left leg with Matip's right leg. I don't really see an argument for it not being a penalty there. I think, yes, Costa's gone down easily. Yes, he's made the most of it, but that doesn't make it any less of a penalty, and I think it was pretty clear cut.
That's fair. I think, like I say, when I was looking at it originally, there was a couple of angles where it didn't actually look like there was any contact, sorry. But, on further inspection, there fairly obviously was.
Yeah. How do you think the game has impacted the title race? The result, rather, has impacted the title race.
Well, if we're talking just purely about the result, I think Chelsea got exactly what they wanted, exactly what they needed. On the other hand, I think Liverpool have, in theory, we'll see as the weeks go on, I think they've stopped a bit of a rut, because that would have been their fourth loss in a row at Anfield, which I don't think they've done for about 95 years or something like that.
Sure.
So I think it's a big point for Liverpool. I don't think they'll be happy with a point. I think Chelsea will be delighted with one. Because at this point you need to be taking 3 points off Chelsea if you want to be looking at catching them.
So I would agree with that. And obviously, as other results went this particular game week, I think 1 point gained is certainly a lot truer than 2 points lost, when you consider that almost all of the other top teams this week dropped points.
Yeah, I'd certainly agree. For Chelsea, definitely it's a point gained. Liverpool, I think, will feel a little bit hard done by, but they can't feel too hard done by.
Sure.
But yeah, it was definitely a big improvement for Liverpool over their recent performances. Against Southampton, they didn't look like doing anything. And they lost to Wolves in the Cup. Didn't look like doing anything.
Yeah, that's all true.
Yep. Arsenal-Watford.
Yeah. This was a game less marred with controversy. Controversy? I spoke well then. Controversy.
Yeah, you're doing good.
A game less controversial. Controversial. I'm going to stop saying that word now. and more just error after error after error, especially in the first half from Arsenal. Finished Arsenal 1, Watford 2. And from the get-go, Arsenal, I felt, were on the back foot. There were mistakes being made all over the pitch, from Gabriel at right back making ridiculous fouls.
There's a holler tackle.
Yeah, there was definitely a red card worthy tackle that Gabriel made at an early point in the game. And Ramsey was so bad. I can't even begin to describe how many mistakes he made. The first goal was First goal was a free kick, I believe, that he gave away.
Yep.
And no, he didn't give it away. The free kick deflected off him. The free kick deflected off him, and the deflection, I believe, sent Czech the wrong way.
That was the Yunus Kabul one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yunus Kabul took the free kick, bounced off Ramsey. Czech was wrong-footed, but he did try and obviously make the save, but by that point, ball had already gone past him to his right, and after after not a very long time at all, 7 minutes.
Something like that, yeah, very early.
7 minutes would have 1-0 up.
Arsenal fans would have been delighted with that goal scorer.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not the first goal he scored against Arsenal. You know, if we play like that more time, every time we play Watford, it certainly won't be the last either. Second goal we concede. There we go, unbiasedness right there. Second goal Arsenal concede. It comes from a throw-in. Thrown from Gabriel to Ramsey. Ramsey lets it bounce and tries to take a touch when the ball was basically at chest height. Gets intercepted. Capoue is running through on goal, takes a shot, goes through Czech's legs, but is still sort of saved. But then Troy Deeney picks it up on the rebound. And Arsenal are 2-0 down. And Ramsey arguably at fault for both.
I mean, it's definitely worth pointing out that for the second goal, I think Ramsey lost the ball on the halfway line, more or less, and Capoue's run from there with the ball and still managed to get a shot away inside the box.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about Arsenal's lack of pressing because you got, in theory, 4 defenders for him to try and get through. I mean, obviously, no, that's not quite how it works if the defenders aren't in a straight line, but very little pressure from Mustafi because Shelney's, having to deal with Deeney on him, and Capoue's just allowed to shoot with his left foot, go through Jack's legs, as I said, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Could Arsenal have dealt with the second ball any better?
I mean, from that particular goal, maybe not, but certainly in the first half, they were, second to every ball for the vast majority of the half. Watford seemed more up for it from the get-go, and honestly, they deserve to be 2-0 up at this particular point, without a doubt.
So, how about the second half? Because Arsenal definitely improved in the second half.
They did. I don't want to make this a let's bash on Ramsey session, but I feel like Oxlade-Chamberlain, when he came on after Ramsey got an injury, helped because he was more than willing to drive forward from the back, and he oftentimes would, when counter-attack, and would make the driving runs forward and then allow the passes either to Ozil or to Iwobi, who was fantastic in the second half, to just sort of let them run. And Oxlade-Chamberlain himself didn't sacrifice his positioning for the sake of running forward and trying to chase the extra few goals.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a good performance. Like a defensive performance from Chamberlain, despite naturally being a more attack-minded player.
Yeah, he played there against Southampton as well in the cup in the 5-0 game, and he was very good there then as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially now with Ramsey probably being out for a few weeks at least, that should be a position that Chamberlain makes his own for the next few weeks.
Yeah, sure.
I did actually want to talk about Iwobi, actually, because he and Sanchez had a lot of very good link-up play in the second half before a few more substitutions. I think before Perez came on for Coquelin, Iwobi and Sanchez were doing wonders down the left-hand side and looked pretty dangerous every time they went forward.
And it was those two linked up for Arsenal's goal, wasn't it?
I believe so. After a penalty shout that wasn't given, and I think rightly so, ball went off for a throw-in, and Sanchez collected it and dinked a ball to the far post, where Iwobi came in with one of the sweetest finishes I've seen this season. It was very delicate, very sweet, and right into the bottom right-hand corner.
It was through the eye of the needle, that one. It went between two defenders.
Yeah,
and into the. It's just perfectly placed.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Indeed. Yeah. Not really sure what else to say about that.
Do you think it was a fair result on the balance of the two halves?
Watford were definitely better in the first half. Arsenal were definitely better in the second half. But I feel like Arsenal being better in the second half didn't account for how bad they were in the first.
Okay.
So for me, Watford definitely deserved the win. I think Prodl actually had an outstanding second half. Didn't have to do much in the first, but I think in the second half he did very well to keep Watford in it when Arsenal started looking dangerous, especially from attacks down the left, like I said, Chamberlain, Iwobi and Sanchez.
Yeah. Do you think there was anything special or that stands out that Watford did, or do you just think Arsenal were that bad that it kind of let them perform?
I think Arsenal looked really unbalanced in the first half. Like I said, with Ramsey not particularly not making very good decisions, trying long balls and they weren't really on.
Sure.
And things like that. It didn't help. And when Arsenal were chasing the game at 2-0 down, no matter how well a team like a tactic or anything might be going, Arsenal were chasing the game. Watford clearly just have to defend for their lives, and in the second half they did just that, and very well.
Yeah.
I can't actually think of an actual clear, well, maybe like one or two clear-cut chances from the left-hand side, as I've said a few times already. But nothing where you would have said that absolutely had to go in.
That's fair enough. Why do you think Arsenal keep choking in title races? Do you think they're out of it now? Do you think they still can win the league?
I guess the age-old question is, are Arsenal ever in the title race to begin with? But I think a lot of you can go back to things like key injuries. Cazorla being out certainly won't have helped Arsenal's cause, but you can't put... I don't think it's fair to put all that sort of, blame and pressure on one particular injury. I did find it quite interesting, actually. I saw a stat not too long before we started talking that every game Arsenal played without Coquelin this season, they've won.
Right.
24 games with Coquelin, and they've actually only won half of them. And 10 games without Coquelin, they won all 10. So maybe there's an underlying issue there. Maybe that's just a coincidental stat. To answer the question of why do Arsenal keep choking in title races, I think for a long time they haven't had the team to mount a strong title race. But this is, for me, the best squad that they've had in maybe 10 years. And I don't really feel like they have much of an excuse this year. I certainly, with Ramsey out, Cazorla out, El Neni at the Cup of Nations and all that, I feel like sending Wilshere out on loan without an option to recall probably wasn't the smartest idea from Wenger, in hindsight.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I think Xhaka's kind of reckless as well, as good a player as he is technically.
Yeah.
I don't think, my opinion on Coquelin, I don't think he's anything special. I don't think he's that good.
Yeah. When given a man-marking job, Coquelin can be very good, but when he's simply asked to just hold the midfield and let the attackers do what they want to do, he
seems to feel left out and wants to get involved.
Yeah. There have been a few times this season where he has wanted to run in behind and put in a cross from the 18-yard box. It's just, you're a defensive mid, what are you doing?
Yeah. I think if we go back to the summer, I think kind of player Arsenal maybe needed someone like Kante.
Yeah.
Obviously went to Chelsea. I forgot to mention when we're talking about the Liverpool-Chelsea game, Kante yesterday against Liverpool completed 14 tackles.
Man.
That was 10 more than anyone else on the pitch, and no other players completed more than 10 this season in a single game.
That's really impressive.
The rest of his team put together completed 10. So, I mean, Arsenal, crying out for someone like that, surely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a testament to Kante's work rate as well, because I can't think of that many players in the league who would be able to, amount that kind of pressure for 90 minutes. Albeit, I suppose, when the other team have possession as much as Liverpool did, then naturally you're going to have to make more tackles than if you have the ball.
Do you think this is Wenger's last season?
I don't know if it is.
Do you think it should be?
At the beginning of the season, if you'd have asked, I would have said it probably is. Do I think it should be? Yes, I do. This isn't I don't think Wenger's any good. I just think that Arsenal needs something new with the squad that they have to inject a bit of life into it.
Okay.
Wenger's done a very, very good job of rebuilding the squad after, having to be a bit more financially frugal when paying for the Emirates. But now that that's less of an issue, I do feel like it's time for Arsenal to get a new manager, get some new ideas, and maybe have somebody who's a little bit more innovative in the way that they want their team to play football.
Is there anyone you can think you'd like to maybe see replace Wenger? Who do you think would be a good appointment?
I mean, we've been linked with Simeone for a long time. Allegri is the person that we've been linked with at the moment. I mean, both of those I feel like would be very good appointments. Allegri has allegedly said, or not necessarily said to the press, but wants to join Arsenal, which, I mean, I think for any Arsenal fan that would be something that they would want to hear. Top class manager wanting to join their club. Specifically that you'd expect the fans to want that.
Yeah, I think Allegri would be probably the sensible pick. I don't think Simeone, as good a manager as he is, and obviously he's done wonders with Atletico, I don't think he'd be a very good kind of fit for Arsenal. I don't think we're the kind of club he'd maybe be suited to.
Sure. I mean, in terms of the style of play, they're two very different styles, his and Wenger's, and you kind of want something that can at least build on and compatible. A name that I would also quite like to see, even if it may not be the manager that would necessarily bring the most success to the club, but Eddie Howe. If this isn't Wenger's last season, if Eddie Howe's given more time to develop as a manager himself, give it a few years, I'd love to see him in the Arsenal dugout.
Sure. I mean, talking about Simeone and kind of style, you can see in Spain this season with Atletico, he's tried to kind of make them a bit more enjoyable, and it's not working as well. He's kind of... So in that regard, I think it's probably good defensively. Eddie Howe would be a nice appointment. I don't think it would necessarily be a good one. I think it'd be nice because obviously he's English, plays very kind of attractive style of football at Bournemouth. But I think it's also maybe, when you consider the managers that are in the Premier League at the moment, when you talk about Guardiola, Conte, Mourinho as Klopp, Koeman as well, sure. I think maybe Arsenal need to be looking at the kind of elite level to compete with sort of those types of managers. I think Max Allegri would be a very good appointment in that regard.
Understandable, although I will make the argument that Wenger, when appointed, was not at, quote, the elite level that he is now.
That's completely fair, but the competition in the Premier League, aside from Sir Alex Ferguson, wasn't really at an elite level at the time.
Sure, that is also a fair statement.
Yeah.
Sure.
City versus West Ham.
Yeah. This is the game that you watched today. I wasn't able to catch, but sure. Can you give me a rundown of how that game went?
City were incredible. I've enjoyed watching City most of this season. They put in some really good performances against likes of Man United, Tottenham when they drew 2-2. They put in some great performances. This was by far the best.
Sure.
They tore West Ham to shreds at the London Stadium. Started Sane, Gabriel Jesus, and Sterling up front, and West Ham just couldn't deal with them. Jose Font made his debut for West Ham, had a torrid time. The game finished 4-0. West Ham were probably lucky that was all it was. It was a masterclass, really.
Sure. Can you give us a rundown of how the specific goals or?
I mean the first goal came from who scored the first goal? The first goal was it was Kevin De Bruyne. So I think Cresswell played a kind of square pass in the middle of the pitch, which obviously is never really a good idea when you're under pressure.
Great.
And City just latched onto it. I think it was Jesus ran in behind to the right. De Bruyne came forward with the ball. Mm-hmm. And De Bruyne kind of played it out diagonally to Jesus, who was on the edge of the box at the time. Sane dragged away, I think it was Jose Font. Pass back to De Bruyne and just a sweet finish into the bottom right-hand corner, wrong-footed the keeper.
Yeah.
So that was a very good goal. And a few moments later, the second goal came. Sane picked the ball up in a nowhere position and showed incredible skill and pace. He just poked the ball through Byram's legs, ditched him, ran to the byline in the box, pulled it back, and with really good pace as well, it just came to David Silva, kind of edge of the 6-yard box, just tapped it in at the near post.
Sure.
So that was a very good goal. The third goal, again, came from a mistake from West Ham, I think. I can't remember who it was, but was careless with the ball this time on the right. And Sane rushed in and intercepted it, surged forward, played a really nice kind of curling through ball into Sterling, who was then 2-on-1 with the keeper with Gabriel Jesus and pulled it back for Jesus, who just tapped it into the bottom left-hand corner. And it was fantastic first half for Man City.
They all happened in the first half. That is very impressive.
Yeah, the first 3 goals were in the first half. I think Man City kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, which was quite disappointing because it could have been 8 or 9. But yeah, the fourth goal, Sterling got played in, and he kind of Cruyff turned against Font, who, like I say, had a debut to forget. Not quite Jonathan Woodgate,
not quite.
But not too far off. He gave away a penalty, got completely suckered, and Toure was just calm and put it in the bottom left-hand corner.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It was a quality performance.
The way you described the second and third goals would make me think that Sane is the kind of player that Man City fans will be drooling at the sight over.
I mean, he's been in very good form recently. Before this game, he scored 3 and 3.
Sure.
He built on that today. He dragged players away when he needed to, nutmegged them when he needed to, beat his man when he needed to. He was just brilliant.
The kind of exciting player that fans from neutrals and home team fans alike, you like to see that kind of stuff in the Premier League.
Definitely.
You like to see a little bit of flair now and then, especially with the game being very sort of almost too heavily, mathematical almost, in the way that it's just simple short passes, hoping to try and break people down, and sometimes it's just nice to see somebody just run through, beat a man, whip in a ball, play a really nice pass, and just get goals that way.
I mean, his mum was a Olympic medalist, a sprinter, and you can definitely tell that he's a whippet, for lack of a better word. The game against Arsenal not long ago, he ditched Bellerin, and no one ditches Bellerin. It just doesn't happen. So yeah, he's rapid.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Do you think this could be a turning point for City's season, or is this just another upswing in a plethora of downswings that City have had this season?
It's really difficult to tell with Man City, because there's not been a game that I can remember where they've played particularly badly. I mean, it's kind of telling, as much as I know myself and you as well like Claudio Bravo. Not a popular opinion, I'll give you. But
Sure.
As much as we like him, before today's game, he'd conceded, since the 2nd of January, City had faced 6 shots on target, all of them had gone in.
Yeah.
And I think you'd be hard pushed to find another team that in that time has only had 6 shots on target against them. And I think that's kind of been the story of the season. I think City's defence has been, criticised a hell of a lot, but I also think that if they're conceding from all the shots on target, their keeper's probably not helping. And Caballero came in today; he kept a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think City in that regard have probably been a bit unlucky to not be higher up in the table.
Sure. Obviously, it's easy to want to defend the manager. But with it being, I'm going to assume that you'll say that Caballero isn't the long-term answer for City.
No.
Were they wrong to let Joe Hart go?
I don't think so. I think Joe Hart has shown that he's error-prone. Not that Bravo's kind of filled City fans with confidence either. But Joe Hart has made a lot of kind of high-profile errors, and I don't think that. I think Guardiola's probably right in that City players maybe wouldn't feel as comfortable kind of giving the ball back to Joe Hart as surprisingly they are with Bravo and Caballero. Whether or not he could have developed that side of his game, I think is up for debate. I think Guardiola, he had him for a good amount of time in pre-season, would have got an idea of what he can do, what he doesn't think he can do. So yeah, I think he's probably made a call, and I probably would say that on the balance of things, it's probably the right call.
Sure. I mean, we've both talked about this before, but we can complain about and talk about how much City's defence, but more specifically their goalkeeper, has been not necessarily up to scratch. It doesn't really help when you're making 10 to 15 chances a game and scoring one, if that.
Oh, of course not. I think City have had the most touches in the opposition box and most clear-cut chances, most shots on target in the Premier League this season. And they haven't scored the most. So it doesn't really add up. I think there's problems with their kind of how clinical they are that they need to maybe work on. But obviously, if their keeper's making saves from the shots on target that they're facing, they're going to keep clean sheets like they did today.
Sure. What's gone wrong with West Ham this season?
Obviously they moved to the Olympic Stadium, London Stadium. It's a terrible name. Mm-hmm. Maybe the name's at fault. I don't know. But yeah, they don't.
Conspiracy.
They don't look anywhere near as comfortable there. They've already lost 2 more games at home in the league this season than they did in the whole of last season at Upton Park.
Sure.
Yeah. From their 12 so far this season, they've lost 5. They lost 3 from their 19 last season.
Mm-hmm.
They've also conceded almost as many. Well, not almost as many. They're 6 off what they conceded last season. The difference really is that they're not scoring at home. They've scored 12 in 12, and that's not enough. So, I mean, I think that's probably a problem. I think they needed to sign a good striker in the summer. They didn't. They signed Zaza. He's been awful. So he's gone to Valencia now. They signed Jonathan Calleri. Obviously, hasn't worked out properly.
Sure.
They needed to get Andy Carroll back. He's back now. He's looked a lot better. But I think when you end up playing someone who started last season, or started this season as a right back, he ends up being your top scorer and playing up front, just Michail Antonio.
Sure.
I think you've obviously got a problem there.
I agree.
But yeah, they just don't really look at home at the London Stadium, and it is a stadium where everyone wants to go and play. Mm-hmm. So the opposition is showing up.
Fair enough.
Obviously, can't believe we didn't touch on it in the transfer window, but Payet didn't help.
Yeah, sure.
So, yeah, I think they've got rid of him now. I think they'll probably be a bit more settled, but yeah, I think there's just been a few things that kind of haven't quite worked out for West Ham. I think they will. I just don't think they have yet. I think West Ham, they're not going down. They're not getting European football. It's just going to be a middle of the road season.
Sure. What do you think they need to do to maybe challenge for European football next season?
They need to sign a striker who can score goals for a start. Maybe get a bit more energy into the team, because not that all their signings have been bad in the last couple of windows, but I think this transfer window they've done well. They've been signing Fonte and Snodgrass. I think they're both good signings. Mm-hmm. But before now they've kind of signed players who maybe hadn't experienced a top league. Masuaku comes to mind, as does Edmilson Fernandez, because they were signed from Greece and Switzerland,
right?
So they're not really the kind of at the level of competition that maybe they should have been looking at.
Sure.
But, so I think someone who can score goals and maybe a bit more energy into the team, because the pitch is big, and if they can get that energy, then maybe their team will improve as well.
Do you think they could still get the energy from Bilic?
I think so. They were very good last season under him. There's no question in the energy they had last season, so I don't see why not.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
We'll leave that for everyone else to decide.
But sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I want to talk about the foot of the table.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Lots of new managers down there.
Indeed.
Who do you think are the candidates for maybe getting relegated this season?
I've been saying since the beginning of the season that I think Hull are certainty to go down. I think that the way the club looks like it's being run at the moment doesn't look like they know what they're doing, in the sense of what they want from the club, how they expect to get whatever it is that they want.
Okay.
They've been the most active in the transfer market, but I couldn't name anyone in the window that I think, yep, this guy's definitely going to save them from relegation. Like, you look at players that have been signed in the past, like, and not necessarily from Hull, but like from other teams. Like, you look at Sunderland when they signed Defoe, that made sense.
Yep.
It's definitely the kind of player that you want to have.
I think there's no question that Defoe was a great signing for Sunderland.
Agreed. And I can't look at any signings like that Hull have made where I think, that's going to help keep them up.
Okay. Right, so that's Hull.
Sure. I mean, as far as the rest of the candidates go, I honestly couldn't tell you who I think are definitely going to go down. Leicester, I mean, they've been poor recently relative to their relegation rivals. I don't really know how you word that, but
I mean, there's no denying they're definitely in a relegation fight.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. 21 points. It's only 2 points clear of the drop.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the teams in and around them.
Swansea, Palace, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Hull.
Yeah. I think you go above Middlesbrough. I think the teams above them are probably safe. But yeah, anyone from Middlesbrough, Leicester, Swansea, Palace, Hull, Sunderland, I think they've all got to be concerned. I think there's been teams in the not too distant past that have kind of proven that there's no such thing as being too good to go down.
True, that is very true. I would have said that about Newcastle last season, and
as would I.
I mean, I suppose they're probably now not too good to come up, but that's another story. I worded that really badly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. A few teams at the bottom have new managers. What have been your impressions of Marco Silva at Hull, Paul Clement at Swansea, Sam Allardyce at Crystal Palace?
Well, I've not seen much from Hull since they've signed their new manager, but I think I think that when you manage to get a 2-1 victory against Man United, granted it was in the Cup quite recently, then maybe that's a step in the right direction, and maybe if they can keep pushing forward with that, then they have a chance. I mean, they drew 0-0 with them today as well.
Mm-hmm.
Man United, that is, and that shows that they have, there's obviously something there that if the new manager can tap into, then we'll see.
I mean, I've seen a few of their games since Marco Silva's taken over, and they have looked much better. Against Man United, when they won 2-1, they were very good. And sure. I know he's a very promising young manager. I think he smashed the Greek record. I know it's in Greece, but he smashed the Greek record for consecutive wins with Olympiacos.
Sure.
Before that, he did a very good job at Sporting. Mm-hmm. And before that, at Estoril, I think he took them from facing relegation in the second division to Europa League qualification in a season and a half. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely a promising manager, and whether or not he'll keep Hull up is another thing. But I think it's definitely an exciting appointment.
Sure. Going back to some of the other managers, though, I think when we heard the news that Clement was going to be Swansea's new manager, we both sort of raised an eyebrow thinking, is this who they initially wanted from the get-go? I'm not sure. But 2 games, their 2 most recent games, they've won them both.
Yep.
3-2 against Liverpool. Is it 2-1?
Yeah, against
right?
Southampton.
Southampton. Yep. I mean, it's obviously a step in the right direction.
Yeah, there's definitely an improvement there.
2 games, 5 goals. That's, it's obviously an improvement.
Yeah. There is, however, still the problem that's kind of been one of the main problems all season, which is that they've conceded 3.
Sure. But, it's baby steps.
I suppose that's fair enough.
I mean, scoring 5 in 2 games, I mean, sure, their defence has been suspect, but if they can start scoring, then maybe their defensive frailties won't matter so much this season. Obviously, they'll need to address it eventually, but if you start scoring, then it just makes games easier. That was such a Michael Owen comment. I realised that, but if you don't score, you don't win.
Yeah. I think Swansea will definitely have a big problem if Sigurdsson gets injured. I think that would be catastrophic for them.
That is a very fair statement. I don't really have much more to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, Swansea have they've got the worst defence in the league this season.
Yep.
Which is quite impressive, really.
Is that 52 goals? I think.
Yeah. Which is 5 more than Hull.
Yeah,
it says quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, whether or not I think Swansea are one of the ones that it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't stay up. I do, however, think Paul Clement is it's a good appointment. It's not the one I think they would have wanted. I think maybe if they were earlier in the season, they would have been a bit more ambitious.
Sure.
But they got Bob Bradley wrong. That was an awful appointment. I don't think there's any sugarcoating that.
No.
But yeah, I think Swansea are another one where they're not too good to go down.
No, but I don't think any of the teams in the relegation fight are too good to go down.
Yeah.
Although I would make the argument quickly that if we are talking about teams that are too good to go down, the closest team that we have now for that, much as it pains me to say, it's probably Sunderland.
Do you think so?
I think of the teams that are down there, they probably now have the strongest setup, in the sense that, especially with guys coming in over the over January, like Oviedo and Darren Gibson, was it?
Yeah.
I feel like those two are solid signings. Darren Gibson obviously being an ex-David Moyes player.
Yep, as was Oviedo.
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten about that. Obviously, Moyes will know them well, and with mix that in with some of the players that are obviously used to relegation battles that Sunderland obviously have. You'd expect.
He is definitely
That's cool.
He's definitely surrounded himself with people he's used to.
Sure, the people he's used to at Everton were doing well at Everton.
Yeah, I mean he's got Lescott, Oviedo, Gibson, Anichebe, Pienaar. I feel like I'm missing Rodwell, all that he used to manage.
Sure.
So, yeah. Sam Allardyce?
I'd argue that Sam Allardyce is a safe appointment.
Do you think he'll keep them safe? Tough question, eh?
Very tough question. If there were more teams in the relegation fight, I'd be more confident.
Okay.
But I'm not so sure. I mean, like I said, I think Sunderland are probably one of the teams that are more likely to stay up, just because I think they're actually quite a good solid setup now. If you ask me who I think are more likely to go down based on the setup, I think the three that I would have said, as it stands, Hull, Palace, and Swansea.
Okay.
And with that, I think that probably is my three picks. And
so we're saying Sunderland, Middlesbrough, and Leicester are going to get away with it.
I think so.
Okay.
I know that sounds mad with Sunderland at 16 points right now, but
I'm inclined to agree with you. I think Sunderland. I think David Moyes will come good there. If they get relegated, I definitely think they should keep him there as long as he wants to stay, obviously, because I think he's someone who will actually build them up and make them a much better team for it. Hull, with what I've seen, I would feel a relative degree of confidence about them staying up. Paul Clement at Swansea, I think, like I said, I don't know if it's going to have been a good enough appointment. I think Swansea will probably go down. Crystal Palace wouldn't surprise me if they went down as well.
Sure.
As much as I thought they'd be fine at the beginning of the season, I think Middlesbrough were in desperate need of strengthening in the transfer window, and they missed out on Bojan, Hesse, Snodgrass. So they missed out on a lot of kind of good players. I think they just brought in Bamford, Gested, and Guardiola.
Yeah,
I'm
not sure I understand Gested.
Yeah, I don't think they were particularly great signings. So I think if I was to pick three now, I'm certain I'll be wrong, but I'd probably pick Swansea, Palace, and Middlesbrough.
What do you think? Let us know in the comments below.
Well, that wasn't cheesy at all.
No, not at all.
Hey, well, I mean, we've kind of had a good discussion, I think.
Sure. Before we end this, I did want to ask, seeing as we're being topical about transfers and everything, who do you think is the best transfer ever made on a winter deadline day?
On a winter deadline day?
Yep.
Definitely not Andy Carroll.
Sure.
Luis Suarez. He was on transfer deadline day, wasn't he? I think.
I think he might have been, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, if he was, then
I can't argue with that.
Who did you have in mind? Did you have anyone?
Other than Luis Suarez, I mean, certainly no one that could match up to that. I'm looking at people right now, and I can't see anyone who I'm thinking for sure.
Got another one. Odin Winjal. Wait.
What? Jesus.
And on that bad joke.
Wow.
Oh.
Should we do the questions, or are we leaving that for next week?
I mean, if you have any, sure.
I have one.
I don't. I was ill prepared, I'm afraid.
Okay, cool. Well, I have a little mini question for you at the end.
Okay.
Cool. And if you get this, then you are the mini quiz football Tinker Talk champion person.
Sounds like quite the title.
We'll get a better name for that at the end of next week.
I think we need to remember the exact name you just said.
Yes.
And we use
Cool.
that
We'll make it an acronym or something.
Yes, if that'll work, sure.
Cool. My question to you, Matthew David, for £1 million.
Ooh.
Which player was involved in the final deal of the transfer window?
This season?
Yep. This transfer window just gone, just to be clear.
When we say the final deal, we're talking about the final one to get confirmed?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't believe I've forgotten his name. The Polish person. Is it the whole city signed from Ren? I mean, that one was confirmed very late, so that would be my guess.
Oh, Grzycki.
Yeah.
You are wrong, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. Who was it?
There are actually three that were more recent than that. I'll go through all three of them because one of them was actually Sacco.
That really?
Sacco to Crystal Palace was confirmed at 1:06 in the morning on the 1st of February.
I thought Grzycki was confirmed at about 6:30.
No, apparently it was confirmed at 34 minutes past 12.
Okay, fair enough. Who else?
At 23 minutes past 12 p.m. on February 1st, Ivanovic left Chelsea for Zenit.
Oh, well, that one doesn't count. The Russian window closes later.
Sure. If that's fair, but at 1 p.m, Jordan Rhodes left Middlesbrough on loan to Sheffield Wednesday with option to buy for 10 million.
I thought he joined them on a permanent deal for 10 million.
It's an initial loan before a 10 million.
Oh, well, fair enough.
Deal.
Okay, cool.
So I'm afraid you are not the.
Can he remember?
No. The nonsense champion.
Oh, damn it.
But next week you'll have a question prepared. I'll have a question prepared.
Got a shelf ready for the trophy and everything.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll actually make the trophy and we'll have a picture up of it as the photo for the video.
Wonderful.
Maybe we'll add that to the thumbnail. I don't know.
We'll see.
Cool.
Okay.
You want to do an outro?
Sure. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed our first episode of the podcast. Please feel free to leave some feedback on what you liked, maybe what you didn't, as long as what you didn't wasn't us.
Give them the Twitter handle.
You can follow us on Twitter at Tinker Network. You can check us on Facebook at Tinker Network. You can download this podcast on iTunes. You can listen to it on SoundCloud at Tinker Network. You might be noticing a pattern here. On pretty much everything, we're Tinker Network, so feel free to subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Like if you're somehow on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, and all that good stuff.
Sweet.
Thanks for listening.
Bye bye.